Hi friends, we're going to be doing the circulatory system today. And the circulatory system is a very important system in our body that helps keeps us alive. We have 3 sections of notes for that because the circulatory system is such a large part of our body. We have the blood cells, the vessels, and the heart, okay, that we're going to be discussing today. So, I have my flare pens, my markers, and my colored pencils. So if you have those, you are ready to go. So for our circulatory system, I'm going to zoom in on the first set of notes, which says circulatory system, a white blood cell. So the circulatory system is the system that pumps blood through our body. It pumps blood through our body. So the circulatory system has the heart, and all of the cells and vessels work together with the lungs to get oxygen in the blood, and the heart pumps the blood through the vessels like tubes and can bring nutrients and oxygen to the body with the blood cells as well. So they all work together, different components. So that is our circulatory system. The main purpose of it is to pump blood through our body. So, our white blood cells. The purpose of a white blood cell is to fight infection. It fights disease and infection. It destroys harmful germs in the body. And it is also the largest blood cell. Now, sometimes people do, if they're not feeling well, they do blood work and they try to find how many white blood cells do they have in their system. And if they have more than usual, then that means that it's fighting off some kind of infection. So the white blood cell fights disease and infection. It destroys harmful germs in your body, and it is the largest blood cell. So then the next one is the red blood cells. The red blood cells, they contain hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is what makes them red. That's what makes them red. This is the most, so there are more blood cells, there are more red blood cells than any other kind of blood cells. Their job is to carry oxygen and to collect carbon dioxide. So basically what it does is it's a delivery man and the trash man. So it drops off a delivery and it switches out for the trash. It drops off the oxygen, the delivery, and it switches out the trash with our carbon dioxide and brings it out of our body. So the red blood cells contain hemoglobin. There are more red blood cells than any other. They carry oxygen and they get rid of the carbon dioxide. Our next one are platelets, blood platelets. They are a colorless piece of cells. They help stop bleeding. So if you cut yourself or you scrape your knee and you're bleeding, and then you start to get a scab and it stops bleeding, the platelets have come together to stop the bleeding and to form a clot. Now the clot just blocks the blood from coming out. It helps stop bleeding by giving a chemical that helps clot blood. By giving a chemical that helps clot blood. So it makes the blood just a little bit thicker so it doesn't come out. Okay? So let me zoom out a little bit. Those are our vessels. So if you are wanting to, you're more than welcome to color this. And then we can move on. Ta-da! There it is. All right, so now we're going to move over to where it says vessels. So I'm going to give you some ways to remember this. We have artery away, artery away. Artery brings blood away from the heart. So vessels are like tubes and they carry blood to and from the heart. So we have the artery takes blood away from the heart. Artery away. An artery carries blood away from the heart, meaning that it has already gotten oxygen and it's full of oxygenated blood. And it's about to bring it to the body. Now there's a couple arteries that go away from the heart and they're going to the lungs. So except the ones to the lungs. Obviously those do not have oxygen because they're going to get oxygen, but they are bringing it away from the heart. Away. Okay. Now the next one is vein, okay? So the artery is the largest vessel. The vein is in the middle. The vein carries blood back to the heart. So artery away and vein brings it back. So it carries blood back to the heart. So basically what happens is that the artery gets oxygen from the heart and the lungs, and it brings it to the other parts of the body. Then as it goes through the body, it starts to go through the veins and it's collecting all of that stuff and carbon dioxide and waste materials from the blood into the veins to bring it back to the heart to get rid of it. So, veins, except those that go to the heart, to the lungs, contain waste materials. And that would go through our excretory system, which is later on in this unit, how the different materials and toxins get out of your blood through the excretory system. But at this point, we're just stopping with the vein, that the vein collects all of the materials that are toxins and need to get out of the body, in addition to the carbon dioxide, and brings it back toward the heart. So the veins, except those to the lungs, contain waste materials, dissolved waste materials, because it's in blood. Materials. So the artery is kind of the delivery man, and the veins are like the trash man. Bringing it, taking it. Well, how do those veins and arteries connect? Well, capillaries are the smallest vessel, and they connect the veins and arteries. Capillaries connect. That's how I remember it. Capillaries connect. Arteries. There are more capillaries than veins and arteries. Than the other vessels. And they are very small, very small. So those are our vessels. I'm going to pause, I'm going to color, and you may do so, or you may wait for a few minutes or seconds, and we will move on. I'm going to put right here, capillaries connect. Okay. Ta-da! There it is. Okay, so we're going to move to the heart, the different parts of the heart, and that will be our circulatory system lesson. So I'm actually going to zoom in, and hopefully that won't get very blurry. And I am going to be writing with my blue pen, and here we go. Okay, so the heart is the organ that pumps all of the blood. It is a muscle, and if you remember when we did our muscular system, the cardiac muscle is what makes up the heart. So it pumps, it squeezes, it contracts, it releases, and that's how it moves the blood through the body. So this right here is the aorta. Now the aorta is the biggest artery. It's the main artery. Aorta, artery. The main artery in the body. It carries the blood from the left ventricle to the stomach. So the heart is divided into different sections. We have the left ventricle, the right atrium, and the left atrium. And they all have a different part in moving all of the blood, and we're going to talk about that. So the main artery that carries blood from the left ventricle to the stomach. Get this here. You can separate that. The main artery that brings the blood from the left ventricle to the stomach. Okay. Now the next one is the left atrium. That is right here. Let me see. Yes, right here. So I'm going to actually do I'm going to circle it like this. Okay. And this box, I'm going to make it green. Okay. Okay, now we are going to do the left atrium. So we have the left atrium labeled and we have this part colored. So we are going to mark the left atrium receives the blood from the lungs. It's full of oxygen. And low on carbon dioxide. So it receives blood from the lungs, it's full of oxygen and low on carbon dioxide. So the next one is going to be the left ventricle, and we're going to make that purple. Okay. The left ventricle. Okay, so the left ventricle, the job of it is to pump blood to all parts of the body. Except the lungs. That has a special way. Except the lungs, blood is high in oxygen and low in carbon dioxide. Now the next one is the right atrium, and that is right here. And this is the right ventricle. So the right ventricle, we will do blue. So the ventricles are on the bottom and the atriums are on the top. And it's backwards, right and left because it's looking at you. So we have the right ventricle is right here. Okay, the right ventricle pumps blood to the lungs. So that's how the lungs get the blood, because it's going to the lungs, it's low in oxygen and it needs a refill. And because this is when it comes back from the body, so that means it is high in carbon dioxide because it just collected it all on its trip around the body. see here, we'll do red. And then the last one is the right atrium, and that's right here. I don't know where my red marker is, but I will use my red Flair pen. Okay, so we have the right atrium. It receives the blood from all parts of the body. So this is like the post office. It receives the blood from all parts of the body. So that means it is low in oxygen and high in carbon dioxide. Now I'm going to explain how it works now that we have all of our notes. So what happens is we have our lungs, okay? We have them here, and the blood comes from the lungs with the oxygen into the left atrium, okay? Then it goes to the left ventricle and it pumps it to the rest of the body, except for the lungs, because the lungs is the end point in the rotation, okay? So it goes all through the body, all around, and then it ends up in the right atrium, and then it goes to the right ventricle, which pushes it into the lungs to get more oxygen, and then it goes back to the left atrium. Now the aorta takes it to the stomach. So that is the heart in our circulatory system.